Linux Out Loud is firing up our mics, connecting those headphones as we prepare to get rowdy. I'm Nate, and I'm joined by my two fantastic fellow co-hosts, Bill and Wendy. We're three friends sitting around a virtual table talking Linux, open source, tech, gaming, and everything in between. We keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and we have fun doing it. This week, we're spotting off about all kinds of fun things, I think. So let's get into episode 104. Bill, nice to have you back. You know, I do like having Matt here. He's kind of like that brother that, you know, there's the one that like gave you swirlies and you know, kicked you down some stairs and such like that, or put you in a box and sailed you down the stairs. But I'm about the size he is now, so he can't do it anymore. But you're also like that brother that would probably, you know, lock me out or pin up a chair against the closet and leave me in my parents' walk-in closet for me to scream and cry and everything else. So, hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And without any hesitation, I would absolutely do that to you. I might even attempt it in present day. But I will say that joining me tonight are two other guest co-hosts, because behind me we have Sully and
Puppies.
Millie. We've got doggos joining us. So they will be probably helping me with the content that I decide to give everybody tonight.
Let me guess.
Perfect.
They run Puppy Linux.
They do run Puppy Linux, but before then, one of my other dogs ran Yellow Dog Linux.
Oh.
For all of those out there that remember Yellow Dog Linux for the PowerPC architecture.
That was an old dog there.
Old dog, new tricks.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, right?
Whatever it takes. Always happy to be here on the show with you both. I guess I will have to fill Matt's rather small shoes.
Well, they don't have to smell the same, though.
Yeah, thank goodness, right?
Ooh, virtual smells. Whoa.
Oof.
Whatever you imagine them to be.
I'm not going to attempt to scratch and smell my camera. That might affect the recording a little bit.
I definitely think it would. Yes. I think that would have a negative impact. Let's not do that.
So all is well with me. It is the end of the year, and I'm kind of winding down some projects at work. Lots of installs that need to get done, people moving buildings, signing new leases, new equipment going in, old equipment going out. This is a time of year when everybody does their budget planning. So I've been driving around to lots of various clients and establishing what upgrades do you need next year, and how can we get some Linux into your network? So we've been discussing some home assistant installations and even just little gadgets like, I think it's called Le Potato, which is a Raspberry Pi clone, and it's very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And
I know that one.
Yes.
I think we've talked about it here before.
I think we
have, because I got one for Christmas a couple years ago.
Well, let me tell you one amazing purpose for them. If you have a battery backup in your home, whether it's connected to your workstation or your NAS or your network, a little potato in a box can plug into your UPS via USB. Potato in a box. That's what we'll call it. Now, if I cut it up and put it in a bag, is that a bag of Le Potato chips? We'll let the
or
audience
crisps,
figure that out.
Depending on how you where you're from.
Well, if you fry one, if you fry one of those, then it's definitely a crisp.
Definitely.
But that's for another day.
I'm kind of partial to steak fries, just saying.
Okay, I can give you that. What we're doing with them is I'm going to have to start this whole segment over.
No.
It's okay.
No, just keep going.
You're doing great.
Okay. So the goal of these is to help people learn and understand when they have power outages or power blips on their network. Because here in New England, the weather changes every 5 minutes. It will be thundering, lightning, snowing, raining, and sunny all at the same time. And I have witnessed this phenomenon. But battery backups don't like those kind of volatile changes. And so how do we remediate that? Well, you don't. But you do learn before it's a problem, or at least when it's a problem. So we've decided to build out these little Lurp potatoes, and they basically send our help desk or somebody else an email saying, hey, you're now on battery power, or hey, power's been restored, or you've been on battery power a long time. I'm going to start shutting things down gracefully to save your data. So that's a fun project that we're doing and trying to introduce to people.
Do you have like any reference material on that? I know it's probably a. I don't want me to sidetrack you, but this is something I'd be interested in personally. So
very easy. You can run. It's called NUT, Network UPS Tools. You can run that as a Docker container. There's also APC UPSD if you have an APC branded UPS. And there's lots of documentation out there on Docker Hub and other repositories and where you can get information needed to build this project out. I'm even using it at home. It's been very helpful for me in my own lab environment. Sweet. But something more fun that we're getting into is we're going to build an arcade cabinet at work.
Oh, wow.
Heck yeah.
Now, what prompted that? So we are in the process of remodeling our office, as you know, and the boss was in to help us figure out the break room. So install a sink and put in a water machine and a microwave and a refrigerator. And he happened to catch the little mini Intel NUC that we have downstairs in our conference room that we use for retro gaming at lunch sometimes. And he thought that was really cool. And we said, this would be a lot of fun if we could take this design and put it into an arcade cabinet with buttons and sticks and maybe 3D print the platform that it sits on and maybe put our company logo on a piece of vinyl on the side. And who knows, maybe customers will want to buy these from us for their own purposes. So he has agreed to give us the materials that we need from the leftover plywood that we're using to do the renovations. And one of our technicians who plays with the 3D printer downstairs is going to fabricate the controls and the buttons to give it those concave arcade button feels that everybody likes very much. So that's going to be the fun that we get to have coming up. And we're all looking forward to that.
What are you going to install as the operating system on there? Or am I jumping the gun on you? I apologize.
No, you actually raise a good point, because we looked at a couple of different iterations of this, whether it be RetroArch, Flat, or a custom built distro like Laka OS or Batocera. And we elected to go with Batocera because it was pretty much the easiest to use and set up. And there's little videos of each gameplay as you select a game in a console. So we really liked that effect. And it also seemed to be the most responsive at indexing all of we'll call them the title screens of the games, because those can take a long time to kind of associate with each game. And the person that runs our shop is very much into retro gaming, and he thought this was a phenomenal project that he could kind of get off the ground, and he's had so much fun with it. And I cannot wait until it's done. So that's going to be something that I'm going to learn about, because fabrication is a little bit new to me. I'm not very tool handy, given my experience with aftermarket parts and my right leg. So I'm going to let the professionals deal with that, and maybe I'll get to learn and tool around with it and design things and bring out my natural creative vibe.
Nice.
Now, Wendy, start dyeing your hair green and like letting it kind of part of it go over your face, kind of all emo style. That'd be awesome.
It won't be green. That's a little too OpenSUSE for me. I'd probably dye it Fedora blue. Yeah, I knew where you were going with that. Yeah. And no, I'm not going to fall for your ruses.
Not like blue and green, maybe a little bit of both.
I'll think about it.
I can do that. I've done that before.
Well, if I mix in a little red and I put RGB in the arcade cabinet, that will make it go faster.
Ooh. That's true.
RGB makes everything go faster.
It's debatable, but yeah.
Especially if it pulsates.
No.
I have this very, very bad feeling that the machine's going to somehow get ingested into the Home Assistant instance at work, which has turned from a helpful utility into a baseline for pranks to be played on people in the office.
Nice. Yes. I can see this, especially with some of the other things that you've told us about that go on in that office. Yeah, not surprised
And some of
at
those
all.
we cannot
Yeah,
talk about on the show.
exactly. We actually had a very nice content edit last episode as we were chatting about that.
Now, speaking of 3D printers and creating and crafting, Wendy, I understand that you have been able to remediate some of the issues with your 3D printer. I'd like to know more about that.
Yes. So I have complained about having these constant issues with bed leveling. And one of the episodes, I can't remember which one it was, but I did share what that bed mesh looked like. And it was an absolute disaster, right? Just an absolute disaster with this high points in the middle and all of my corners super low. So I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I've taken the springs out from under it and all kinds of different things. And while I was getting some prints to finish, because we've had stuff that's got to be printed for the robot, the quality just wasn't as good as I was like it to. There was places where the print was perfect and other places where even though it had done the bed mesh, it wasn't adjusting for it. It was still sitting way too low on the bed. And if you've seen that issue, then it's got the gouges instead of your nice fine lines inside of it. So I'm messing with a 3D printer again today, trying to get a set of parts for the robot to print. And I'm realizing that my print head has wobble to it. Huh. Yeah, that's probably having a negative impact as the BL Touch is going around the bed and making sure that it's actually reading properly. So, grabbed a set of pliers, tightened it up. Guess what? Instantly, when I ran the bed mesh again, this drastic changes that I had, they were gone. Yeah, I got the bed leveled pretty good. It's printing beautifully at the moment. Felt like an idiot. Um, but hey, if you're having issues with bed leveling, check the stability of the nozzle. Make sure all of that's nice and tight and that all the wheels are tight. So part of the reason why I was printing the parts that I did is I decided I wanted to try annealing some parts. So the nylon carbon fiber that I have says that for the best strength, it really is meant in the instructions to go through the annealing process. And I've never done that before with my prints, just use them. And so I wanted to try it out. The kids and I went to a local secondhand store last week. We picked up a toaster oven for $20 because I'm going to be sticking plastic in there. I don't want to run food. I, didn't want to buy an expensive one. So got a really, really cheap toaster oven, threw them in there. And the worst part about the toaster oven method is you're not entirely sure which temperature you're setting it at. So it was supposedly about 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 70-ish minutes is what I had them running for. I measured them after they came out. It looks like lengthwise they're still pretty good. But just in case the shrinking process of going through the annealing, whether it makes it so they're no longer usable because they weren't sized up to account for the shrinkage. So I've got another set of those printing right now. So what the annealing process does for this, especially with the carbon fiber, is it helps align everything back up. You get a nice, supposedly better strength. And I'm using the Polymaker carbon fiber. It was formerly called Polymide something. I'll drop it here in the show notes. But I really, really liked it overall, but it does say, go through the annealing. So I have done that just for kicks and giggles. If it works, great. If not, we'll see. I'm almost out of this filament, unfortunately. We've ended up printing a lot of carbon fiber stuff over the last, I guess I picked it up this spring. It's pretty much all been robot stuff. But there are some other parts that we would like to print. Like I was talking about the shifter knob replacement in my husband's pickup. So that would be nice because it's light, very durable. because the other one broke out. Oh, so I've got the centerpiece right here. So we had been driving it. It's still in there. So we're driving it right now. The shift knob is on the pickup, but the center is out of it. So it still stabs into your hand every time you go
That's a good time right there.
to shift. Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. So, getting one of those printed, and it would be nice because one of the advantages of the annealing is after that's done, it has higher heat resistance. Now, inside the pickup, it's not going to get hot enough to melt it because this is the nylon. It would be an issue if it was PLA and you still, after the annealing process, wouldn't work inside of a car. You need at least PETG in order to do that. But I'm curious. I'm interested to see how this works. So we'll take 2 sets of these with us tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes.
Now, I'm curious. So you actually anneal plastic similarly as you would metal? Really?
Yep.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's new to me too. I didn't know that could be done.
So it really depends on the spec sheet, because if they're meant to be annealed, not all of them are. It's typically ones where you want a crystalline structure or a semi-crystalline structure. So not all of them are meant to be annealed, but if inside the spec sheet it says, hey, this is a good idea to do this, it'll give you the preferred temperature in order to do that on that filament. So it is possible. I know I'd heard of it with metal before, especially like knife making, that kind of thing, in order to help strengthen it. So you can also do that with 3D prints.
The more you know.
Right? That's got to go in here now. Nate, you had some frustrations jumping into the show tonight because, well, Chrome.
I did. I got that solved now. Not a big deal. I just had to write it there because I was late. And I just wanted to know, hey, I'm reinstalling Chrome because it won't let me get into this Riverside.fm. Then I reinstalled it and it didn't work. So I went to Chromium, and that's what we're using right now.
That's
anyway,
kind of funny because I had to switch from Chromium to make Riverside happy. It wanted Chrome. So yeah, it's kind of weird that Chrome isn't working for you and you are using Chromium. Maybe I could have used Chromium this time. But your real topic is all about language and being able to learn more languages with Flatpaks.
Yeah, so I've been using DuoLingo, I think that's how you pronounce it properly, on the mobile and more recently in the web browser, and that's been fine, and doing that. And then I think it was because of Linux Saloon, we're looking at just different applications, and I stumbled upon an unofficial DuoLingo app for in Flatpak for the Linux desktop.
Nice.
And so I thought, well, this is cool. So I started using it, and I really like it. Not because it's anything better than what you have in a web browser, but just to have it separated out. Because, as you know, and I think Bill is pretty well aware, I'm very irresponsible with leaving lots of tabs open in my browser. And so if you lose something, I lose stuff in my browser all the time. It's just it's just what happens. And anyway, so I've lost DuoLingo in there. Like if I had to hop away for something, like maybe I'm taking a break from work, or I'm taking a break from something and I'm just doing DuoLingo and I get distracted or whatever, then I forget about it and then I don't finish my lesson, and then you get like the angry notifications on your phone. So anyway,
right.
And I don't like doing it on the phone. I don't know why. I mean, I know it's meant for a touch interface and it actually works well for touch interface, but just when you have to like type in the answers, like if you have to, whatever it is.
Yeah. I like my keyboard to type things out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is great. I really like using the keyboard for basically all of DuoLingo. It's almost like it's made for keyboard because it's so much quicker. If you have to do like matching the sounds or the words or whatever, you can do that very quickly with the number keys or the number pad, whatever you want to do. And then you can do the when you start like whether you're typing out the full sentences or the full words, or if it's just the blocks that are going up. If you start typing the blocks, it'll pick them out as you go as well. So that works really nice too. Every once in a while, I do hit enter erroneously, and then I screw up, but that's fine. But anyway, it's not like this is a very exciting application because it's just a web wrapper, but it's one of those like little creature comfort things, having that owl stare at you in your taskbar as opposed to it hiding in your browser. That's really the big thing. And also, I do want to, I'm not big into cloud applications, but I do really enjoy the fact that one, the developers, the people who maintain this, who do, who make their money off of this, they have a sense of humor on there. They allow you to do multiple languages, no problem. You do have to watch the ads or you can pay for it. And I don't like cloud applications, but I do make an exception for this one because it's kind of become a little bit of a social media type app. Not really, but with my family, because we're constantly like harassing one another,
one-upping each
through
other.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's been kind of fun. And then even like there's a lot of like little funny things just in the application. And maybe the peak of this is hilarious is you can take the time to learn Klingon. They have Klingon as a language option. I'm not saying this is that you should do DuoLingo. I'm not advertising. We don't get any kickbacks from them, although it'd be nice. But Klingon is one of the language options, and that to me is funny. So if I ever decide I want to LARP at a Star Trek convention as a Klingon warrior, I could probably brush up on Klingon and through DuoLingo. That's pretty cool.
Do they have Elvish?
I didn't see it, but that'd be funny if they did.
So, Nate, I actually want to take that a step further because you've both kind of touched upon something here that resonates with me. And wouldn't it be cool if there was a Linux-based tablet with a detachable keyboard for schools where that Flatpak could be one of the icons in the system tray or the taskbar or the desktop? So I'm thinking of the younger students that are learning a language, maybe in elementary school, that browsing to a site might be a little bit unnecessary. But if I could grab that Flatpak and I can make that as part of a base install of a system, now I've created an amazing educational tool that is still open source based.
Right.
And both of you know that I've worked in education for a long time. And so that kind of, speaks to me a little bit.
Pull those things out because you're like, ooh, guess what, schools? Guess what we could do?
Exactly. So this is what you've done is you've actually you've inspired me for once this time to maybe try this out on some of the tablets that we have kicking around the office to see if this is a viable utility for some of my schools to try out.
I've inspired as opposed to psychologically drain you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So as a side note, sticking with Flatpaks, I know I've shared multiple times that since I've switched to Orca Slicer, it is my absolute favorite. Right now, I've got it pulled from the AUR, and there was word that it was supposed to be coming in Flatpak, but there hasn't been one yet. One of the listeners of the show has created a Flatpak of Orca Slicer and has asked me to do some testing on it.
Ooh.
So I will come back to you next episode with some information on that, which this is coming at the perfect time because, as I've talked about before, I would like to get things switched over to a Fedora-based system. I was having issues with my printers again today. It doesn't matter what I do. I send the file to the printer and say, print on both sides. Long edge flip, right? I go to my printer. I say, yep, it's loaded. Yes, go ahead. Do double-sided. It's still printing one-sided. So I will be making this a priority to get things switched over because, like I said, still frustrated with printers at the moment. And it wasn't an issue before the current update, though I have had a chat with another friend behind the scenes about printer issues. He was having some issues on Mint, found out that, and I don't remember exactly what he said the issue was, but I know there was a conflict between some of the other packages and the official Epson printer drivers, and that he needed to uninstall something so that the Epson drivers would take priority, and then that fixed a lot of the printing issues for him. But it's not just my Epson printer, so my laser printer, which has additional issues with it right now too, but my HP Epson right now, it will not let me send double-sided prints to it at all. cannot. I'm only allowed to send single side prints to it from this system, and I have no idea why. So multiple frustrations with printing. I will be making the jump to Fedora, but because we have family coming here next week and my house has been a bit neglected between editing shows, school stuff, robotics, and the like, I will be spending most of next week getting caught up on house stuff before then. So hopefully, first of the year, end of December, I will be making the switch to Fedora.
I don't know if that's a Fedora issue because my HP LaserJet, which I think is a similar, not LaserJet, but laser
I think we got
printer.
like the exact same model. I think we have the exact same model. Yeah.
It won't let me double side print, but I forced it to do that with the HP driver things. But
yeah,
every time I try to print, it says there's an error in my configuration. But I don't know what the problem is, but I just say ignore or no.
Okay.
Or, do you want to correct this? I say no, and then it will print double sided anyway. So there's something goofy there going on with the whole printing system.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually avoiding all HP printers moving forward because they now need an internet connection.
See, and that's where Nate and I are lucky because we have those older models. And to be honest, I have loved my Epson Incotank printers. They've been absolutely fantastic. The biggest downside to them is they are an inkjet. And so, yeah, they print slow. And when you're trying to print a math workbook, that takes ages for it to come through the inkjet printer. That's one of the reasons why I have the laser in the first place. But I messed up, and I think I've talked about this on the show before, and I bought some cheaper, off the cuff refills toner for it, and it's printed like crap ever since. And I don't have it to where it's updating right. It has no connection to the internet other than to see the Wi-Fi. I know in settings I have it set so it won't auto update, so that I could use non-name brand toner refills. And I think it's the toner. But at the same time, I don't want to pay $1,000 for the official replacement ones. And so it's left me torn in what to do with it because I miss having a fully functioning laser printer. But at the same time, I don't want to wait for the Epson to print stuff. And there's just certain things that look better coming off the laser printer.
Yes.
Some things that just look way better.
The way I've tackled printers here at home is I have brother printers, which have been rather bulletproof for me. And I have a inkjet and a laser.
Okay.
Mine are actually running through a cups server that I have running on my Pi, on one of my Pis on my network, because I find that by browsing to the cups interface, I have a lot more control over what the printer is doing.
Oh,
so I'll browse to the cups server, :631, and it will say, hello, welcome to the cups server. What printer do you want to manipulate? And I will say the Brother HL2270DW behind me. What would you like to do with it? Well, I'd like to print double-sided. Okay. So Cups has been one of those very, very helpful tools, and it's actually something I'm going to be rolling out at a number of my schools and other places that have no Windows servers left, and they have other devices that need to be able to print. So how do I centralize print serving? And that's how I'm going to do it. And some of the other places, I'll use another product that plays nice with Google Workspace and Azure Active Directory and control who can print to what. But for a lot of the basic stuff, you can run Cups even, I think, in a Docker container, and it just works. Give that a try.
I really like the idea of that, especially where I've got so many. And we've got a fourth printer out there that we've never set up. We've had it since this summer because I was wanting to turn it into an oh my gosh, wrong thing, a DTF printer. So direct to film, so you can add that to like shirts and that kind of thing. And I just realized right now I don't have the time, and so that one, it is supposed to be a photo quality Ecotank printer. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just set that up because there's some other things, guess what, that we can print for robotics off of that. So, so I'm going to go ahead and set that one up the way it is. But then that has us minus the 3D printer for printers with the laser, the Epson, that's a regular inkjet, the Epson, that's a sublimation, and then the Epson photo printer.
How does it differ running a centralized cups print server versus just one on each computer?
What you do when you go to add the printer is you add it as a network printer. So if your printer is only USB, for instance, or let's say it's Wi-Fi, or even if you have it connected via Ethernet, what Cups does is it can take that little potato device and turn that into a network print server. So if you have multiple users that need to be able to access that printer and you're having problems using the printer's built-in Wi-Fi or it's sporadic or you have driver issues, what Cups can do is help stabilize that environment a little bit and give you more control over the device. I give it a try. I know that you have multiple printers and multiple machines and multiple people all using it. It may also be something you want for your homeschool community. If you have a printer in a shared classroom, you can just deploy that printer setting to all of those workstations via that little potato device. And because it can run Docker and Cups, now you can have it serving other systems as well for your classroom.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. I will definitely be looking into that.
I remember you guys talking about those printers when you got them, and I actually remember where I was driving. I was stuck on traffic on Interstate 91 in Connecticut, screaming at my radio that you both need to get a cup server on your network when this happened. And today I have had my day.
Yes, you have. And I'm
3 years later
interested in that.
Exactly.
Right?
What's funny is that since I'm not on here all the time, when I listen to the shows, which I do every time they come out, I remember where I am when I listen to the show more than sometimes the content itself. I'll say, oh yeah, I know exactly where I was when I was listening to that show. I was in between place A and B.
That's funny. That's funny. I thought you were going to say that you talk to us when we can't hear you, which is totally fine because I do that to shows I listen to. I do that to shows while I'm editing. I even do that while editing this show, like responses talking to you when you can't actually respond.
You want to hear something sad? And that is, what? I can actually hear your voice in my head when you're editing Sudo Show. It haunts me. It haunts me at night. The therapist said I'll be okay eventually, though.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Eventually.
I'm glad.
It's kind of a weasel word. It could mean never.
But just, Nate, I actually have joined Linux Saloon while driving home from actually Neil's house when we have gone to robotics stuff. So I genuinely pick up content of DL shows and even your show and Linux Saloon, depending on where I am. And then later on, the topic will come back to me. That's how that printer thing triggered. Weird side.
Very nice. I'm glad it did. I'm glad we got way off topic and brought it up.
Well, I hope that the cup solution helps somebody out in our community.
Yeah. Most
I
definitely.
should try that for sure. So, Bill, it looks like you're cleaning out your lab. Is this like an annual thing?
Yes, sometimes more years than others, and this year was a big one. So for all of you home labbers out there, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Do not over-collect on hardware that you'll never use because it devalues and then it's hard to get rid of it. Fortunately for me, I was able to pass along some of that hardware to my colleagues at work that wanted some more experience or even just to get their own labs started. But because of the debacle I had with the rack coming off the wall, I no longer had a place to put some of the larger equipment that I had intended on setting up. So I had some various 48 port full PoE 10 gig switches that I had pulled out of a place basically a year before, and they had just sat. And I thought, okay, I'm going to take out all the Ubiquity gear. I'm going to implement this gear and I'm going to have some fun with it. Well, life and time sometimes work against you and you have to be realistic sometimes. The other challenge is then navigating the space, just the physical room that stuff takes up. So I was able to unload a lot of the equipment that I was no longer using. That makes room for new equipment that then I can use and try out as time goes along. But for now, I'm going to enjoy the fact that I can actually see some of the floor in my lab area.
So do you got the rack remounted, or do you still have everything pulled off of that and waiting for that to get remounted?
I've not remounted anything on the wall mounted rack. So for full context, I have two racks. I have a 42U 2-post rack that has a lot of my production equipment in it. And that's, we'll say, on the left side of the home lab. Immediately to the right of that, mounted on the plywood, is the 8U rack, and the workbench, which is on casters, slides underneath that. So I can look at a wall-mounted monitor, the 8U rack, and then I have my space in front of me for the keyboard. And Nate, you're going to like this one.
Nice, yeah.
A Microsoft IntelliMouse Trackball Explorer.
Wow.
Ooh.
That
is this a Bill original that you purchased back in the day?
It is from vintage 1999. It is still working. Baby, it is a collector's item, and it gets very light duty. It's there just to kind of help me provision my equipment on the bench. So it's living a happy part-time work life retirement situation there. But all the other equipment honestly,
it might last you forever. It's the things that you don't care to last that just last forever. They just don't die. It's the things that you baby that actually do die because you baby them. I'm just saying.
I clean the trackball regularly with rubbing alcohol, and I clean the little contact points in there so that it will run as long as possible.
Take tweezers and pick out like the lint balls by the tensioners or whatever they are.
Yep. Or dog hair in my case, but
But
yes, I have been busy cleaning things out. My plan is that one of my lovely coworkers is going to come over and help me use the right anchors and the right bolts and remount the plywood.
Nice.
And he even offered to help me rewire things since he is quite tall and I am not.
Heck yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun project for the two of us. I'm just happy I've got space. I can keep things clean. I can start the new year fresh.
I like it.
Beautiful thing.
Good way to roll in the new year.
So I have my mind set on how I want to handle that, but Wendy, I think you're changing your mind about a few things.
I am changing my mind about a few things. So the last several episodes, we've talked about these different pre-built 3D printers and needing to grow my 3D printer area. And before I get too deep into that, I did get a comment on Mastodon. And I think this one is more directed towards you, Bill, because we were talking about very easy to set up, no fuss 3D printers for when you eventually decide to get into it. So this person says, "Hello, Wendy. It seems like you're searching for a new 3D printer. I don't know how expensive the Prusa MK4 is in the US, but if you're searching for a reliable printer with fully open source and also has an ecosystem which runs great on Linux, I could highly recommend it. I'm working with an MK3S Plus and the MK4 for several years now. It's just the kind of fire and forget printer you mentioned in the last Linux Out Loud episode. So there is some information for you. Looks like he is loving, well, I'm not sure. I don't have an actual name. This person is loving the Prusa printers. So that might be an option for you to go down.
I appreciate
on the
that.
other hand, you are welcome. I, on the other hand, have changed my mind, and I've decided that, nope, I said before I want to build a printer from scratch, and gosh dang it, that's what I'm going to do. And this hit me again after I was helping my son look for parts that he's putting together in a CAD file. So he's redone the intake on their robot. And one of the nice things about the places that supply parts, GoBuilda, Rev, is they have STL files that you can pull, you can bring them into CAD and help with your assemblies. And as I was on there helping him pull files, mainly to make sure that they were named in a way that he could find them and knew what he was trying to add to his file. But Go Build That has these really cool rail series that to me looks way better than some of the other stuff that I've seen as far as 3D printers go. They've got these really nice hard plastic wheels. They've got the rail channel that they can run down. There's an example of it with a lead screw. I love this idea. And so before it ever gets built, it will have to be fully catted because I want to make sure that it is roughly the way I want it to be, that I know kind of my parts list before things get ordered. But this currently is a plan, and I'm not sure if I will be using this rail channel for all the accesses or exactly what I'm going to do. Obviously, you wouldn't want a lead screw on your X and Y. They just don't move fast enough in order to have that as the main. But even being able to use this channel with belts, so it almost makes it like a linear rail system, right? That you've seen on other stuff. So I'm very curious. I haven't got to touch these parts, but the team builds with a lot of Go Build A parts. They seem really, really high quality, and you can get longer sections. We can cut them down, whatnot. Plus, they have a lot that are preformed the way they are. So this is the way that I'm looking at going. The nice thing about it is a lot of these parts are overall pretty cheap, especially when I've been looking at other linear rail systems and what a lot of places are charging for them. I'm just like, holy crap. So this seems like a nice way to build a printer, do something a little bit cheaper, and still have something that's pretty gosh dang solid.
I like this rail system and the plastic wheels.
Mm-hmm.
For like a gantry. I mean, there's so many things I'm thinking about you could use this for.
Right.
If you did like do your own like laser engraving system or whatever.
Ooh,
That'd be
yes.
make a really nice gantry out of that.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I was just thinking. Anyway, but yeah, no, this actually looks really nice. So I did become familiar with Go Build this past fall, because of my son's involvement, and also using the downloading the STL files I think that's step also maybe too. No, downloading the
I think
files.
they actually come in step files.
I think step, yeah.
Have to,
and it's step, not STL. STL is stereolithography. Anyway, so I was helping the kid that was working on the CAD build the stuff in CAD. He actually did a great job using SolidWorks, but I also know that in Onshape, I think they have like plugins directly for Go Builda. I think for some of that stuff, or maybe it's not Go Builda, it's somebody else. So
they
check
might
the
have
Onshape
plugins for RIP. Yeah, I need to look in that because that would make it a heck of a lot faster if there was a plugin that you could pull parts from. Because that's one of the bad things about pulling stuff from Go Builda is you get it in a zip file. And the zip file is basically numbered with the part number, which is great if you need to go order parts. The problem is if you're trying to add stuff to an assembly and all you're seeing is part numbers, it can be a bit of a pain. Or trying to decide, okay, what's the thing that I need to pull into that import into it. So that would definitely make things a lot simpler. I will check that out. I know that Onshape even has a how to build a robotics class as part of their base education framework and stuff. They work really well with FIRST and the like. So I'm curious.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious with the way they're angling. They're
yeah.
Not
and to be fair, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with CAD in general and assemblies because it's nice, and I think I need to just learn the tips and tricks to help my son learn the tips and tricks in order to help assemblies go together faster, smoother, and all of that stuff. But just trying to pulling in each part, trying to get it positioned in the right spot, everything's lined up, and then in this CAD, he only added a very few bolts, but putting them in particular places to make sure that there was going to be clearance in those files, and not necessarily worrying about the rest. But I know that has become, or that was an issue for the robot this year. The kid who did the base CAD for their robot this year, the main build for it, the original concept, didn't want to take the time to put any of the bolts in. and we ran into the issue of, that fit in CAD because you didn't put the bolts in it. Now it's pretty obvious, like, we can't get these parts to work the way it was intended to go together because there just isn't enough clearance space for it to go together. So that was a good learning experience in us trying to learn assembly and the like, being able to go, hey, you might want to add the bolt and just make sure that it's actually going to go together the way you want it to.
This is just an aside, but Onshape related, and a little of a side tangent here.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't written an article on this or anything yet, but there's a Flatpak called Quick Web Apps. So what you can do is you can turn Onshape into an application in your menu with it. And
nice.
I find if I use the Chromium backend as opposed to Firefox or whatever, the web, whatever, that seems to yield me better user experience. Put it through.
Interesting. I've only ever used it in a Firefox browser, so maybe I should try
there
it
is no,
in Chrome.
There's no difference in Firefox and Chromium when using it, because I've tested both and I prefer Firefox. But with this particular Quick Web Apps, Chromium tends to work better because it actually remembers your password and such, while the Firefox one doesn't.
Okay.
So it makes it easier to log into and everything else. Anyway, so I can have Onshape rather than getting it lost in my browser, which I think I've talked about this earlier. I can have it as a standalone. Be nice if there was like an unofficial Flatpak wrapper, but in the meantime, Quick Web Apps works very well. So if you want to,
that would be a nice way to do it. And my kids don't always remember to share files with me when they're like, hey mom, this needs printed. And so I'm typically having to log into their Onshape accounts to pull files for them so I can print it. But I really like that idea. I have to do that.
It's something to think about.
I'm a little Christmassy today with some green and red eyeshadow. And Nate, you are screaming Christmas with that Santa hat. What do we got going on with Bill? Got a green shirt. Heck yeah. You're feeling a little bit festive.
Actually, I have a Christmas shirt underneath here, but it's just too darn cold in here right now.
To be able to take your sweatshirt off. Yeah.
Yeah. So
No. Stop the press. He does not want to show us that shirt because he knows that if he does, we're going to mock him for his unhealthy obsession with OpenSUSE.
No, I wouldn't care about that. My almost unhealthy obsession. But it just says light it up. It's got a Christmas tree with lights on it. And I was just too cold. But I got the lights on around me. These are powered by WLED. But that aside, I meant to have all my Christmas stuff already up. I actually started putting up my Christmas lights on the outside of my barn back in September. And one thing after another, either weather or something else has like slowed me down. And so I don't have like all my props out. I haven't done all my timings. I haven't done all that stuff. Not a big deal. I can get that done pretty quickly. But anyway, that's what I've been working on. But work has just been so in the way. Love my job.
Gosh dang work.
Having to make money gets in the way of fun. Anyway,
right, yes.
No, but my job is fun, so that's not a big deal. But anyway, it's just been one thing after another. Or like yesterday, I spent most of the day after work baking cookies. So I mean, there's just like lots of things just kind of. I'll get to it. Today I was supposed to get done with it. I'll probably get, after we're done recording, I'll probably work on a little bit more, but I think I should actually be able to put all the props up tomorrow. Someone said, oh, but we're so close to Christmas. And I'm like, no, I celebrate the 12 days of Christmas, where Christmas Day is the first day of
day
Christmas.
One. Mm-hmm.
So as long as I get it up by day one of Christmas, because we're in Advent season now, then I'm okay. I don't care what everyone else does. This is my world. Yep. I'm going to make it. I'm going to live it the way I want to live it. And
perfect, because normally about this time you're putting out the video showing your light show to music, and just not happening this year. I mean, you might get it done to music, just not as early as you typically have been. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm going to miss probably some of the like what everyone's excited about Christmas, that kind of upswing, but it kind of lingers a little bit afterward as we're still enjoying our gifts. We haven't broken them.
I'd say it typically goes through like the new year.
Yeah, typically. Like our extended family Christmas isn't till the 27th of December. Okay. That's when we do we'll let it go that way. But anyway,
And
So-
we're doing something with friends like the 28th. So yeah, absolutely.
I think we can call this Linux Lampoon's Christmas light show.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's perfect.
My last name is Griswold, by the way,
Yeah, we know.
or Griswolf. I don't know.
Chris Wolf.
There was a typo somewhere in the original movie. The whole
Yeah.
thing was just done wrong.
Yes.
It was. So anyway, it's all Linux powered, and there's no Windows involved in any of it, and that's fine. That's good. That's why I like it.
What about the lights in your windows?
Those are powered by Tasmoda.
But you said Windows weren't involved. They are.
Lowercase W Windows, not uppercase. No proprietary operating systems involved. Bunch of ESP32s and
8266s and some of those other boards. Those are fun.
Yeah.
So is that one of those things that you have an article up on cubiclenate.com, or is that one of the things you're working on?
I've been working on this article since beginning of technically I started years ago, but September is when I was actually really like getting all the information together. And then I'm actually just working on the last section, which is how to program them, make sure the X lights like setting up X lights to work properly with the actual controller itself to make sure they're synchronized and everything else.
Nice.
So just some cautionary things, not necessarily how to make a show, because that's a whole different, it's a bunch of other.
Right. This is just more the basic setup kind of stuff.
This is the 0 to 25 article.
Okay.
Just kind of get you going, get into second or third gear, but not actually going full speed. So that was the part that took me the longest to understand. And once I understood those bits, then it was fine. So anyway, but that's what's going on. And
I look forward to seeing your light show whenever it gets done.
Yeah, I think this weekend should be a good weekend for this, actually. Assuming temperature doesn't. Assuming like the cold. I don't know, but the cold is really bothering me this year. I think getting old or something. It's really bothering me. So anyway, that's it. So now it's time for you to toss in your 2 cents on today's topics. Hit the discourse forum, drop us a line under this video, or on the contact form by visiting tuxdigital.com/contact. If you'd like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, see the links at the bottom of the show description. Find other great shows like Sudo Show, or is it Sudo? Sudo.
There you go.
I don't know.
I know. I get it wrong every time at first too.
The Sudo Show.
Pseudo is fake sourdough bread.
Well, see, I would say Sudo Show because it kind of runs fine, but Sudo is what I call it, but Sudo Show. Sudo. Anyway. You can also tune into or watch Destination Linux or Linux Saloon, where you can find me and participate in a Linux talk. And the less I talk, the better. And more great, wonderful things at tuxdigital.com. Show off your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. Grab yourself some awesome swag like the gamer-centric I paused the game to be here shirt, or join #Team Wendy with some sinister Wendy swag. As always, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it.